Yo, what is up? Welcome back to another well, I guess it's a live stream here on Free Will Photos, and hopefully you guys can hear me pretty well. I'm gonna bring the microphone down a little bit, just because want to make sure you guys can hear me. Now, obviously, I have not been uploading videos recently. I've been in a little bit of a rut for inspiration, but at the same time, I've also been busy working on a project for my day job. So I do apologize for, breaking the consistency that I've had, which is why I want to come today with a live stream. Was not planned, but I think that there will be some value added to this. Now, before I get into the live stream, I do want to share. So I have been using, or at least today, my Nikon D3400. I don't know if you guys can see that yet. And attached to it is an extension tube, and this is the 35 millimeter lens on it as well. Now, I have some other extension tubes, like more to attach to it, and that's what I use to get this look today. So, if you happen to have a Nikon or any camera where you have some extension tubes, and I recommend a prime lens. I wouldn't use a telephoto lens. I'm sure you probably could get the same effect. I'm no expert in macro. I was just experimenting because I said, you know what? I have no idea what to do. And now that I have the images, I'm ready to show you some of the editing techniques that we'll be able to use moving into other applications. Now, the other thing that I used, and this I just bought from a dollar store, which is a spray bottle. You don't have to have a spray bottle. You can take a bucket of water and just like dip your hand into the bucket and then sprinkle it onto your actual subject. So lots of options, lots of different ways that you can potentially do this. So there you have it. Now, let's go ahead and dive into the computer because you guys have heard enough from me. So we're going to go ahead and jump into ON1. All right. So here we are inside of ON1 Photo Raw. And as you can see, there's not a whole bunch of pictures in here. There's only 86 of them in here right now. And I shot in RAW using the Nikon D3400, which I really, really enjoy the Nikon files. And I was looking at these files and I'm like, man, I want to get a Z series camera just because I really enjoy the Nikon files. There's something about them that inspire me, but I'm going to hold off and not buy a Z series camera just yet. Or maybe, I don't know. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of these images. Now, if you're not familiar with how to use extension tubes, essentially they don't focus at infinity. If you don't know what focusing at infinity means, that means you will not be able to take a photo without getting closer to your subject. I can stand almost anywhere as long as I meet with a lens that can focus to infinity. I can stand almost anywhere in relationship to my subject as long as I have met the minimal focal distance or minimal focusing distance. What that means is there mini lens you can just take out of the box, put it on your camera, and as long as you stay far enough away from your subject, the lens will focus. You can take the picture. Well, with extension tubes, it doesn't work that way. So the recommendation is to put your camera on high continuous burst mode so you can get tons of photos, and you kind of just rock back and forth and hope that somewhere in there you have the right focus. And that's why you're going to see a series of shots here, like this one here. I took that one, and then this one is going to be slightly framed different, but the focus is going to be in different places. And this is fine. It's normal. It looks like I took, what is that? 7 photos. Yeah, that's what I thought. Didn't want to do quick math and embarrass myself. But moral of the story, I think you get my drift here, right? Now, obviously, this photo is out of focus, but maybe this one has some focus. No. And you're going to get a lot of photos that are out of focus. I had a lot of good time doing this. So hopefully, if you have extension tubes or you're curious about getting into macro photography, a prime lens and extension tubes can go a long way. I do recommend that you have at least a 50 millimeter lens. I decided not to put on my 50 millimeter lens. Really, no no good reason on why I didn't put on my 50 millimeter lens, other than I just decided not to. But all of these are shot without a flash. I just used the morning sunlight. In fact, I just shot these this morning. If you look up here in the metadata, August 14th, that's when I shot these, and it was about 7:30 in the morning. So right before this stream. So this is completely, off the cuff, I guess, not conversation, but I'm showing you kind of my process of reviewing and editing. Now, this one has like a nice little water ball right there. That's kind of cool. I didn't notice that until just now. And that's the beauty of macro photography, right? You get close to your subjects. And I wish I had taken a photo of all of these little, I wish I had taken a photo of this before, or not using the extension tubes. That's what I meant to say. So that way you can see exactly how small these flowers are, because this photo doesn't do it any justice at how small these flowers really are, because it looks like, well, they're filling the frame, so they must be pretty large. But the truth is they're actually very small. They're probably about the size of my thumb, if that. They might even be smaller, but just to be able to get the detail that I got out of them. Nonetheless, we're going to keep on moving. So, what do I do typically approaching editing these type of photos? Well, we're going to go ahead and edit this photo. And the first thing that I like to do is really just get my colors the way that I want them to be. Now, like I've said before, and if you've been hanging around this channel, well, let it load. If you've been hanging around this channel for any series of time, you will know that I am a huge fan of the Nikon colors. So I'm just going to go ahead and crop this in because there's a little piece over there. And actually, you know what? I don't need to crop. What I can do is just hit on the retouch as soon as my computer catch up with me. All right. And then I can just click on these little edges here and didn't do a good job at getting rid of those. So I may have to crop it out. Let's try that again. Yeah. All right. So we'll just delete all of those. I don't know what's going on over there. And this is one of the reasons why you would want to go to a third-party application, which is just more advanced cleaning, right? But that's okay. I'm gonna just come here, click on crop, and pull this in just a tad. I want to keep my aspect ratio, original ratio, and then I'm just gonna pull this in. I really do like the ratio of the Nikon, and I'm just going to tighten this up a little bit because I think that the flower, there's like this negative space at the top and at the bottom, and the flower goes diagonally from right to left. I just like that aesthetic. So there we have it. Now we have our flower nicely cropped in, and let's see what AI Auto does. AI Auto is tripping. Now we can probably back that off and get something a little bit more robust, but nah, not feeling it. Overall, I'm not feeling it. So let's go ahead and work with the shadows. Now, I want to bring my shadows down because I think contrast is going to be cool. And then we'll pull up on the highlights, and I'll even pull back on my blacks a little bit, throw in a few more of the white, and let's go ahead and throw up the exposure just a touch to brighten the overall image. Not a whole lot. And we'll mess around with the contrast slider here. Nah, I don't like it. I'm gonna add my contrast using dynamic contrast. But I do want to pull up on the vibrance because, you know, we're trying to really adjust for the colors here. And I don't know, if I pull back on the saturation, it gets a little too dull. And if I pull up on the saturation, those greens just become way too green. So I think we're gonna use an adjustment here inside of the effects, because I think that's as good as I'm gonna get with the develop module. And that's, you know, I just want a starting point, right? So let's go with color adjustment first. And the greens, they just look way too saturated. So let's go ahead and dial those down. You know, let's get it looking a little bit more natural. And I think that's about good there. You know, we can try the reds. Let's see what happens. I don't want to, yeah, I don't think it's affecting that too much. So we'll come over here to the magentas. Let's see. Yeah, those are definitely in the magenta range. And I think I'll make them a little bit darker. This is affecting, obviously, the more pink tones. And I'll even pull up a little bit over here. So let's turn that off and turn it back on. And those are just micro adjustments to the color. In fact, I think I can desaturate and maybe even darken the greens a little bit more. Now turn it off and on, off. They're just bright and in your face, at least the greens. And now they're a little bit more muted. I really, really like the way that that came out. So now we'll go ahead and throw on some dynamic contrast. And I think I actually have Nikon contrast, which this is supposed to be a simulation for me to get the contrasty look on a Canon camera. But it actually doesn't look too bad on a Nikon file. I'm not gonna lie. I may need to just pull it down opacity wise, because I don't want a whole lot, you know, I don't want it to be in your face contrasty, but I definitely want to show it off. All right. So at this point, I think we are where I would like to be. So I'm going to go ahead and hit done. Now, you can do one of two things. You can save this as a JPEG or TIFF. I recommend a TIFF if you want to go into another application, right? Because once you have your raw photo, so to speak, edit it the way that you want it, now it's time to, you know, move this into another editing program. So I'm going to right click there, or right click on the image after I come back to browse. And I want to send this, let's go to Color Effects Pro. All right. We're going to go to Color Effects Pro and edit a copy with settings applied. That's what I want. All right. This is how I like to do it. You could do it however you want, but this is how I prefer to do my editing. All right. And then TIFF with no layers, sRGB, that's fine. Resolution can be left at 300, and I do want it to be a 16-bit file. So let's go ahead and hit edit. Give it a second. It's going to load the file and do all of that good stuff eventually. Okay. Come on. Let's go. You can do it, computer. It's always a waiting game, right? All right. And here comes Silver Effects Pro. Let me see if I can make this a little bit larger on the screen. Maybe I gotta wait for the photo to load because it doesn't seem like it wants to cooperate with me right now. So we'll wait until the photo loads. Any day now. It's weird. Normally doesn't take this long to load. And I guess it's still trying to load. Okay, well, we just keep on waiting. It's always a hurry up and wait kind of thing. Well, while that decides on if it wants to load, we will click on edit and let's go into, you know, the profile that I wanted to kind of try this out with was actually in color effects. Let's try analog effects. Let's see what happens there. You know, hit edit with a copy of those, and yeah, it's weird. It's actually kind of annoying that it doesn't want to work. Well, this is just the way that, you know, things happen sometimes. But go ahead and start dropping some comments down below if you got questions about, you know, third-party applications, which ones you want to see, because I do have Affinity Photo, I have Luminar AI, I have the Nick collection. All right, there we go. I don't care. I know that it's editable, re-editable TIFFs. So, what I like to do when I work in the Nick collection, especially if I'm just experimenting and really trying to figure out, like, all right, where do I want to go with this image, is I like to work with a before and after, because, you know, I like to see where the photo came from and where it's actually going to. So, that doesn't look too bad. I'm not opposed to it, right? So let's go ahead and just, I want to clear out everything. And looks like the basic adjustments here. All right, so now we're gonna just go ahead and clear out everything. This is the original photo. Let's come over here and click on the classic camera. And I think I'm gonna try and go with a vintage camera. Let's see what happens with that. Yeah, maybe a vintage camera look. Let's click on vintage camera 1 and see what we get. Okay, so there's a border. I'm not a fan of the border. I think that's a little odd. This color leak looking thing is a little interesting. Let's see what we get here. Okay. No, not really feeling that either. Not feeling that one at all. just reset everything. Let's come back over here. Let's click on build a camera. Okay. So let's go with basic adjustments first. And of course, I don't want any of this stuff on right now. All right, detail extraction. Yeah, we might want to bring out some details. It is kind of a macro photo. Ooh, I don't like what it's doing to the background though. I wonder, let's try adding in a control point to here. And then add another one right here. Let's turn those on. Okay, so now it looks like it's just affecting the flower. And now let's do some detail extraction. Come here. And this is essentially just a selective adjustment, which I kind of like. That's with it off, and that is with it on. Maybe I bring down the details extraction because I don't want this background. There's a lot of noise back there, and I don't want that, right? So I think that works. Let's see if we can do something with the bokeh. Let's see if we can do something back here with the bokeh. Now, let me see, what did it do? Oh yeah. So I kind of like that, but I'm just gonna bring this over and bring this down because I want the focus to be somewhere around here, and then fade and maybe blur it a little bit more. Yeah, that could work. And I don't know, maybe I should rotate this. There's the rotation. Make it, you know what? Let's go with the direction of the crop, or the composition that I'm trying to make here. Okay. I could see that. That doesn't look too bad. I think I'll go with that. All right, so now we got the bokeh going. Do I want light leaks? And maybe not so much. Let's see here. What's a dynamic one? This might be cool. Okay. And maybe just a little less on the strength side. And I'm not going to worry about putting a control point for the light leak because I don't think that would really do me any good. I don't know if I gain anything from the lens vignette. I don't want a vignette on here. Film type, because there's already some grain, you know, I think I'm okay with throwing in a little bit of a film type to give some of that that old kind of feel. Let's see what happens here. Maybe it's too strong. I'll just pull that down a little bit. I think that'll be all right. I think that is okay. And then, of course, you can mess around with frames. I don't really think I want a frame on this one, so I'm not going to mess around with a frame. I'm going to just go ahead and hit save on this so it can go back into ON1 and we'll take a look at it. Just keeping it simple, right? Trying to identify an artistic look that I can dig, essentially. Let's see here. Sometimes when you're working in ON1, the photo that you would expect to just pop back up into, there it is. It takes a little bit of time for it to come back. But now I have my edited photo. And if I wanted to, I can go further, because now when I open this and edit inside of ON1, I have all of my adjustment controls. I can come back over here to effects and throw in even more effects. So I wonder if I go to color enhancer. I've never tried this before, but maybe. No, that doesn't work very well. Don't do that. All right, you live and you learn. But okay, so there's the first image. All right, we went ahead and edited this inside of ON1 first, getting the base development, and then we moved into Analog Effects Pro. Now I hope to get a photo into color effects, but that's fine. Now here's a fun one. I am going to find, where's the first one? I think it was this one. I think I really do like the aesthetic. If I can find one in focus, I know I got something in focus. I sure hope I did. Doesn't look like I got any of those in focus. Maybe here? Yeah, that one looks like it's more in focus. This is the challenge with using extension tubes, and because it's all manual focus and you're rocking back and forth. There's one. All right, we'll go with that. Okay, so the next place that I'm going to go is Affinity Photo. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. Make it a little bit smaller here for a second. Come on. And we'll go like this, and I'll drop the photo in there. What? You failed to open the file. Let's try it again. Oh, well, it actually opened. All right, that was weird. It says that it failed, but it did not actually fail. So now we are inside of Affinity Photo. Now, I'm in the develop persona, or persona, however you want to say that. And I think that this is probably one of the cooler things about Affinity Photo. The scopes. As you can see, I am like really dark in this particular image, and then there's just a little bit, and those are going to be the highlights that are right there. But everything else, there's really no good tonal range. Now, if you're familiar with scopes, mostly used in exposure calibration for film, but it works pretty well here in Affinity Photo for photos. And the so what to this is, as I boost my exposure, watch what happens to my scope. I start to see more of this tonal range come to life. Now, you typically want to be spread decently across the tonal range, and that just lets you know that you have good dynamic range in your image. Now, there's no right or wrong to this. It's more of a preference. So whichever one you prefer, then that's the one that you should go with. But I think that that's cool. And you also have the RGB waveform. I prefer the parade. You get to see the red, green, and blue right next to each other. 0 is the pure dark. 0 is the blackest point in your image, and then 100 is the brightest point in your image. You always want to try and keep your black point a little bit above 0 and your white point a little bit below 0. This just means that you aren't blowing out anything in your image, so it just helps with the overall exposure. Really cool thing that is available inside of Affinity Photo's Develop Persona. But one of the things that you probably are familiar with is a histogram. Now, this is another reason to come into Affinity Photo, because the histogram in ON1, it only allows you to see the aggregate histogram, whereas here you can see the reds, and as they are displayed across the histogram, from the blacks to the shadows to the midtones to the highlights to the pure whites. All right, and you can do that for every single channel, and then you can get all channels and really see where your image is. As you can see, I have a lot of information on the left of my histogram, which means that it's darker. Now, it's not underexposed because I don't, the blackest points are really just the contrasty edges on this berry here. So I'm okay with the way that this looks. And if you're ever concerned, you can turn on your shadow clipping mask up here, right? Your shadows clip, and then these are your highlights, and this is for your tones overall. So if I was like, hey, you know what? I wonder how far I can push this. I can pull my black point even further, and eventually, well, I guess it doesn't want to cooperate with showing me my clip, because I know I'm clipping it now, but that's weird. It's supposed to do that. Anyway, editing a raw photo inside of Affinity, you can absolutely do it. So I'm not going to go into detail with this. I'll just do a quick overview. So we have exposure. This is just how bright, how dark you want the image. And then you can brighten up the midtones. Think of this as your midtone slider. The exposure is the overall. The black point is really just your balance of how much black do you want in the image, how much white do you want in the image, all right? And I'll probably pull it to about there. You can check the histogram to make sure that you're making sense up there, but I typically just look at the photo because that's what really matters. If the photo looks good, then I know that I did what I wanted to do. And now I'll mess around with the vibrance just a little bit, see what's going on. Yeah, we can get these berries to pop a little bit more. Now, inside of Affinity Photo, you can use levels to really modify and then mask in. So we'll probably go over some of that as well. All right. And I'm not worried about shadows or highlights. Maybe I'll contrast this a little bit. Yeah, that just brings a little bit of punch to the image. And then clarity, look at all the detail that you can get out of those berries. I'm going to leave clarity alone for now. Double click here. And I'm going to come back. I'm going to show you another technique, which you can absolutely use on probably almost any image, but not going to worry about any of this. You can see I was using a 35mm 1.8, but I'm not worried about lens details. I'm not going to dive into either. This is no different than any other raw editing processor. All right. And then curves, the only cool thing about curves here is the fact that you can actually delete a node later on, which I don't know if I would edit the curve on here because I would just use a curve in the actual photo persona, but that's up to you, right? So if I don't like this, I can just click on it and hit delete. And the nodes go away, which is, in my opinion, the appropriate action. But, you know. And then overlays, think of this as your local adjustment. If you wanted to add an adjustment, you can click the brush, and then you can come over here to basic, and you can change whatever you want. So maybe I want to brighten something. So I'll hit brighten, and now I can paint in more exposure on the areas that I want. If I don't like it, I can come back to overlay and then click on the overlay that you want to delete and hit the delete key. And then you also have the gradient tool, which you can choose up here in the top left, either a linear, an elliptical, which is a circle, right? You can do that, or you can do radial, which is the same thing. As you turn it and pull it, as you turn it, it adds in more of a transition. And then as you pull it, it gets bigger and smaller. Elliptical works kind of like the gradient, or I'm sorry, the radial, just it flares out. And then you can grab these little handles in between. You can see that it's selecting just a little bit there. All right. And then you make your adjustment and it just brightened up that area. It's like a spotlight, right? And you can have a series of these, but you have to come back to the overlays, click on another one, drag that one out, and then come back over here, drag that one out, and now you have your local adjustments. So really cool ways of editing the photo. No different than what you would be able to get inside of ON1 though. So now that the photo is edited, I'm going to hit develop. It's going to move us into the persona for Affinity Photo. And now this is like working in Photoshop. So I'm going to click on this, Command J. That's just going to give me a duplicate. And I am going to label this one. I think I want to add in more of that clarity. So clarity, wow. Clarity, edit. Probably didn't spell that right. Oh well, not a big deal. So now that I have this on the clarity edit, I'm going to go ahead and click on the develop persona again, come back to basic. I'm just going to crank up the clarity this time. All right. You can see the clarity really coming through, and I like that. Really just what's on the berries here. So I'm going to hit develop, and I will come over here to my mask, create a mask, and I want to hide everything. So I'm going to click on it, Command I to invert, and now it is not being shown. So if I turn the mask off, you can see all the clarity come back, turn the mask back on. And this is no different than what you would do inside of ON1 or any other photo editing app. And what I'm going to do is grab a brush. I am going to come over to my colors. I'm painting with black. I'm going to make this a little bit large. Check my flow and opacity. Hardness. I want a soft brush. So we'll bring the hardness down. And I'm going to bring up my size of the brush. I'm just going to paint in that clarity right over the berries as I would like it to be on them. All right. So I guess I should probably paint with white if I'm going to do that. What? Oh, I have a stupid brush. I'm like, what is going on? Okay, let me fix that. So first, let's go back here, black. You know what? Let's just delete that altogether. Create a new mask. And this time when I click on brush, I need to come over to brushes and basic, and we'll go with that one. There. Now I actually have a brush. I was wondering why it kept changing sizes on me. I was doing something else in Affinity Photo, and that's why it was rotating as much as it was. But all right, now let's come back to our color swatches, click on our mask, and let's invert it. Now when we paint, we should be painting in the adjustment with a brush just where we want it. So now when I right click and we hit edit mask, you can see that it is working. All right. And now we should be good. Come on, Affinity Photo. Go back to the photo. You know what I want you to do. All right. So now I don't have as much clarity going on there, but I can click here and maybe I want to add in just a little bit of the clarity into the leaf. And I can do that. So now one of the cool things about Affinity Photo, and this is what I would actually come into Affinity Photo for, not the masking thing, that's just an option, right? What I'm gonna do is right click and we are going to you know what? Well, I don't want to do it on this one. So how do I want to do this? Well, let's try it. So I'm going to click on the live filters and come all the way down to the bottom of the live filters. No, you can't really see this on the screen. So let me turn my camera off. So at the very bottom, there's one that says lighting. I'm going to click on that. And that brings up the lighting filter, which I think is really cool because I can move around the way that light interacts inside of my photo. And there's a few different types of light. And I'm just going to really make the light do what I would like it to do. And this isn't, you know, the greatest tool for recreating light in your scene. All right. But it can give you some creative ideas of what to do with light, especially when you are on set and you're like, okay, what do I do? How do I light this subject? You can mess around with it here, and this is like your simulation, so to speak. So, and you can see what's happening because I put the lighting on the same layer. it's only lighting where I masked. So that's why I didn't want to do it there. So that's okay though. We will just delete the lighting off of there. And we will go. I apparently don't spend enough time in Affinity Photo. I want to do a stamped visible layer. Or at least merge all the layers. Merge visible. Bam. All right, now we can do the lighting trick. Boom, there it is. Now, again, like I said, this is not a replacement for a light, but it is a cool way of just editing your photo and relighting a scene. Now, you can't do this inside of ON1, as easy. And that's the other reason why you come over to programs like Affinity Photo or Color Effects, is for the ease of what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Now, my light was actually coming from this side. So I am going to move these items around because I just want to enhance the light. And when I say enhance, I really just mean redefine the way that the light was working. So there's that, and I can change the color of the light, and that is what's really cool about this. So if I want it to be a little bit more of a warm tone, I can just do it like this. And now I have this warm toned light, and it's the ambient version of the light. And I can make my specular highlights similar to it. So that way, and it is light, so we want it to reflect a little bit more of white. Let's see. Ambient's going to make it a little bit brighter. Yeah, I think that'll do. And I'm trying to make it as diffused without overblowing. And it could be spread a little bit wider, I guess. No, now it's just getting too dark. Maybe I need to add a second light. Let's add another one. And we'll make it a spot. And this is where, reshaping the light really comes in handy. And I just enjoy playing around with this. You can do a lot of cool things. Maybe that'll work. Let's turn off the lighting. This is the original. Well, we'll do it like this. So this is the original without the lighting, and this is with the relight. I don't know which one I like the best. I think I like it without the lighting. So maybe on this image it's just not going to work. But you can change the type of lighting. So I can go with a point light. And maybe I'll just remove the first one. So now I'm left with just the point light. Doesn't seem to be doing much of anything. Let's pull that over here. And it doesn't seem to be doing much of anything for a light. Not brightening anything. Maybe it's too diffused. It's weird. Oh, well, I guess you got to turn the layer on to actually see it. That makes more sense now. So now when I diffuse it, but you could do a lot of point lights, especially like if you're doing some sort of like I want to highlight a thing. So maybe click there and go with another point light. This time we'll move the light there. I'd like to control the brightness of it though. The opacity controls the overall. And it's affecting both of those. I want to affect each light differently, You can affect the distance of individual point lights, but not the brightness of each of them. But nonetheless, live lighting is an option inside of Affinity Photo that you can play around with and see what you'll get. Let's go ahead and go to one more program. And there's a lot of other things that you could do inside of Affinity Photo. Like if I wanted to, I could mess around and smudge some of this. You can use the color blending. So if you want to make kind of like a painting, you can just blend colors like this. Maybe I want to bring, and I'll clear my brush and then bring some green into this. I would never do this. Not like this, at least. But you can do some really artistic things should you decide to do, should you decide to do that. But paint mixer, all that good stuff. There's some cool tools inside of Affinity Photo. I have not explored all of them. I tried to apply basic knowledge from Photoshop, and I just haven't gotten there yet. So let's go back to ON1 for a second. And let's choose another photo. Maybe we'll go, those ones were all blurry. Those ones are kind of cool. I think maybe we'll choose one of these. Let's go with this one. Let's see what, yeah. So I'm not even going to do any edits inside of ON1 with this particular photo. Instead, what I'm going to do is I want to see if we can get into Color Effects Pro. Now, I could go into Luminar AI, but I really want to go into Color Effects Pro. Now, we tried to go into it earlier today, and it just wasn't having it, but who knows? Maybe now it will cooperate. And if not, then that's just the way it is. But let me know, what are you guys thinking so far? Just moving between all these third-party applications and why you would actually leave ON1 to go into these third-party apps. Because I think you can get away with doing a lot of the basic edits and really get a good final product straight out of ON1. Now, hopefully, this time it's going to cooperate, because for some reason it says one of two images, But when I click here, yep, I don't know what's going on. It's probably because I'm just trying to live stream. That it's like, we will not cooperate with you because you want me to work, and I refuse to work. I don't know. That's weird. Oh well. That is that. And I don't know. Maybe come here. Force quit. Yep. I want to force quit you and force quit you again. All right. Let's just chalk that one up as a loss. But, none of the other programs. I guess we could let's go to Luminar. And we'll go ahead and edit a copy inside of Luminar. Luminar is a pretty good software. Using Luminar AI, we'll mess around with some of the AI features in there. See if we can get this photo looking pretty cool. Do any of you guys have Luminar AI? Or what other applications, if you have any, do you have to edit photos? And free applications absolutely work. So Darktable, GIMP, Raw Therapy. And even if you have stuff on a tablet, be curious to know what you got. No, I don't care. I know it crashed the last time. I don't know why. But now it has to update image gallery. Man, the struggles of photo editing while live are so real. It's actually a little disappointing. This is frustrating because I thought that it would work. So, well, here we are, just waiting. So disappointing. Oh, okay. Well, those are some images that I was working on. But now I think it's going to open the image that I want to work on. So that wasn't too bad of a wait. I guess maybe I was being a little dramatic. But okay, well, all right, there it is. I'm not going to throw any templates on here. We're just going to jump right into edit. And I'm going to click on Composition AI. And I want to hit Composition AI. Let's see what ON1 thinks is a good composition. Okay. I'll say I'll like it. We'll go with it. Why not? We're here to use the AI tools, and we'll let AI come up with some good ideas. Let's go with Accent AI. Oh yeah, I like what it's doing to the leaves here. It's really bringing out some fine micro detail there. So I like that. Okay. Structure AI, maybe. No. Do we want to throw in some more structure? Yeah, maybe. None of this really matters to me. This isn't a portrait. So let's see what we got with color harmony. Now, I know a lot of people that use Luminar, they come to the color harmony. But first, before we do that, let's do super contrast. So midtones contrast, this is really just working with that nice richness. The highlights, I don't know. I kind of like them very bright, but I'll tone it down just a little bit. And Shadow contrast, yeah, we'll just go there and shift it around just a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if that's really doing anything. Turn it off. Turn it back on. Maybe. All right, color harmony. Let's take a look at color harmony. Brilliance. Ooh, that looks awful. I could see that, a more desaturated look. Let's just go ahead and reset you. And maybe we need to do a color balance. All right, color balance. So we have reds. No. Add in maybe some, and this is all in the shadow tones. This stuff is very, very technical, and I'm just experimenting, just messing around. Maybe that will work. We'll throw a little bit of denoise in there. It's actually doing a pretty good job, not gonna lie. Okay. I'm not gonna worry about details. Maybe throw in some vibrance, desaturate a touch. And, it's a twig in the middle with two berries on the side. Is it something that you will, be like, oh man, look at this. This is a great thing. No. But I could see using this. Now, one of the challenges with editing in third-party applications and using ON1 is really getting the photo back into ON1. You always have to export. So you click on export, save the disk, save to disk, and it should pull up a dialog box here in a little bit and allow me to select where I want to save this. Yep, there it is. And I don't want to go into Unsplash Photos. Instead, I want to go ahead and navigate back to where I am storing all of my other photos, which is inside of personal work, and then macro, and then flowers and berries, and we will call this Luminar Edit 1. It can save as a TIFF. You can choose whatever format works the best for you. TIFF, JPEG, all that good stuff. And then I'm going to keep it at the original size and the compression, all that good stuff. Go ahead and smash the save button and it'll save back inside of the folder that ON1 will be able to read. So the cool thing about ON1 is it reads your file structure on your computer. So wherever you save photos, that's where it ends up saving to. So now I can minimize this and I'll go to browse. Should end up at the end. Well, that's the one that we sent out. So the one thing is ON1 is a little slow to updating. So you typically have to go out of the folder, come back into the folder, and hopefully there it is, Luminar Edit. And it is now available for me to do more stuff with. So if this is where you're doing your raw archiving and I wanted to add in some metadata to the photo, if I wanted to put in IPTC information, I could do so. Now personally, I would like to see a more robust method of a full workaround, a full system, but oh well, it is what it is. All right, well, that is going to do it for today's episode, or I guess live stream. If you found value, go ahead and smash the like button. I don't know if I actually showed a whole lot of value. One of the cool things, I'm going to go and mess around with my Nikon D3400 a little bit more, and even throw on my 100 millimeter macro on my Canon R6 and take some macro photos side by side, see what works and what doesn't work. Hopefully I can figure out a good solution, and bring you guys some more macro images throughout the month. So the month of August, I think I'm going to stick to just live streaming. There may be some videos throughout the month that I post on the channel as I get inspired to make a video. But the truth is, I have been very busy, as well as inspired very little. And, I feel a little hypocritical with my tagline of stay inspired and keep creating. I'm definitely doing the keep creating part. The staying inspired part, man, that has been rough. So if you guys got ideas, please drop them in the comment section. I would be more than happy to try out some new stuff. I'm messing around with macro photography just to see if I can do anything with that. But until next time, I do mean this. Stay inspired and keep creating. Peace.